since 2007. A return to the American League Championship Series.
They are a tough team.
That ball is hit well. And it's out of here. Francisco Lindor has broken the scoreless tie. Look, it's all about how you play the game in October. Indians fans picking up where they left off 17 hours ago when they were celebrating a Game 1 victory in the ALCS 2-0 over Toronto. The Indians still perfect in October as we get set for Game 2 of the American League Championship Series, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Cleveland Indians. Good afternoon, everybody. Ernie Johnson here. Ron Darling is here. He's going to talk about the pitching matchup momentarily. We're going to start with the Iron Man, Cal Ripken. Hey, Iron, last night, something Indians fans haven't seen since 1920. 4 straight postseason wins. What for you was the biggest takeaway from Game 1?
Well, I mean, yeah, they performed their magic again last night, but I look at the big picture. They had a really great year, and so did Francisco Lindor. I mean, all the Cleveland Indian fans know about him, but now the world is starting to find out how great this player is. He was a difference maker last night. He did it on offense, here with a single, and he did it on defense. A nice start to a double play right here, and here was the big ball, a big home run, the only runs of the game that propelled him and their team to a win. He did it with a smile on his face. He did it with a lot of enthusiasm. This kid is a bona fide star, and the whole country is finding out about it.
All right, thank you, Cal. Let's get into the pitching matchup today, Ron, because you've got a 20-game winner going for Toronto. And for Cleveland, you got a guy who thought he was going to be pitching Game 3 on the road. Instead, it's Game 2 at home.
Well, I think this was a little better ballpark for him because it's a little bigger. Terry Francona raves about his 31-year-old right-hander. Josh Tomlin's one of those guys who's ultra competitive. He's a guy that is a gamer. He'll throw innings and he doesn't walk anybody. His problem is he gave up 36 home runs this year. He's going up against one of the best home run hitting lineups in all of baseball.
What has made J Happ a 20-game winner?
Well, J Happ got traded from the Seattle Mariners at the trading deadline to the Pittsburgh Pirates. He went over there with Ray Searage. He dropped his arm angle a little bit. He went to a two-seamer to get the ball on the ground, not always in the air. That helped his control. Since that time, August 14th, he's 28-5. So he right now is one of the best left-handers in all the game and one of 3 guys to win 20 games this season.
He'll try to even up this series for Toronto here in Cleveland, where it is an absolutely spectacular Saturday afternoon in the fall. First pitch, Game 2, right around the bend.
Company and the exhilarating new Lincoln MKZ. By T-Mobile One, welcome to Unlimited Baseball. By the Blue Cash Everyday Card from American Express. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Well, the home run by Francisco Lindor was the headline maker in Game 1. Lindor's just a 22-year-old, and he was born in Puerto Rico, played his high school ball in Florida. Being a youngster, he lives with his mother here in Cleveland during the season, and she's a pretty good cook. Check this out.
Mama Bear's starting to make the meat for lasagna tomorrow. It's gonna be a delicious plate, my favorite. And this is the finished product right here. Look at that. Best dish in town right there. I love it. My mom's lasagna. Mom, say hi.
Hi.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
And Maria has sent some of the lasagna up here to the booth, and we couldn't resist. We've been into that. I mean,
I've been killing it. I've been killing it so far. You know, the first time I ever heard of this, Vladimir Guerrero, when he was in Montreal, his mom lived with him and did the same. Cooked a lot of the native dishes from the Dominicans. So it's a cool thing. When you're a young guy, you can sometimes be lonely when you're in a new city. He's got his mom's with him.
So why are you guys penalizing me down here with no lasagna?
You're the one who wanted out of the booth.
We'll send some down, Iron Man. I promise. Thanks to Maria, this is awesome. One of the fringe benefits of this job. Batting order. Toronto Blue Jays, game 2. Ezekiel Carrera leads it off. Josh Donaldson in the 2-hole. Edwin Encarnacion hits third, and then Jose Bautista in the cleanup spot. They have John Gibbons made a little switch here. Russell Martin's really struggled. They drop him to the 6-hole and move up Troy Tulowitzki. And Darwin Barney will be batting 9th today, playing second base. Devin Travis back in Toronto for an MRI on that painful right knee.
Well, it'll tell you a little bit about the insides of Josh Tomlin. The 13 wins, the innings, they're all career highs. But in August, his ERA was over 11. He was lost. But since then, in September and October, and this includes that clincher in Boston, he's 3-1, and his ERA is 1.99 in over 31 innings pitched. Here's the defense. It's really changed up with Geyer in left, Rajai Davis in center, Chisenhall again in right field. You got to have a good defense when Tomlin's pitching. He gives up a lot of contact. Ramirez, Lindor, Kipnis, Napoli, and Roberto Perez doing the catching again. Well, Brandon Geyer had 3 hits in his first game against David Price. 2 hits against David Price, but 3 in the game. And Rajai Davis, most steals in baseball. There you go with Chisenhall. Now that's the defensive trio that you need for Tomlin, and the ball's going to be put in play.
And this time of day, here Lonnie Chisenhall, especially in right field right now. That sun coming right at you. Tomlin coming right at Carrera, misses with the first pitch. We are underway in game 2. Thanks for being with us here on TBS.
You know, it's going to be extremely difficult for the first 2 at-bats to see with these shadows. Once it gets a little darker further out, it'll be a little easier, but you have all kinds of different light patterns, and it's very difficult to pick up the ball.
Ran up to bunt. Two balls and a strike. Ramirez in on the grass at third for Carrera, who will lay it down. And will use the entire field. He was 0 for 3 in the opener, hitting .316 in the postseason. And the 3-1 grounded to second. Little in between Hop and Kipnis. Had no problem with it. 1 down. 4th member of our crew once again, Sam Ryan. Sam, what's up?
Ernie, earlier you mentioned Devin Travis. Initially, he was trying to play through what was called a bone bruise in his right knee. Had to leave last night's game in the 5th inning. He was in pain. He did go back to Toronto this morning for an MRI on that knee. While the Blue Jays are still reviewing the results of the MRI, they tell me it's significant. There is some swelling, but they were confident enough to put a request in with Major League Baseball, who reviewed it, and they have approved their request to replace him on the ALCS roster with Justin Smoke, guys.
Does mean that should Toronto get to the World Series, they would go there without Devin Travis. Here's Donaldson. Kipnis again. 2 down.
You know, Sam, thank you for that fine report, because it really lets you know that the decision was Major League Baseball's, because this was a pre-existing injury. They could have said no, but that was a great move by MLB, because you don't want any of these teams this time of year playing shorthanded.
Here's Edwin Encarnacion. He's the only member of this Toronto team now who has hit safely in every postseason game so far. Indians with the shift on. He was 2 for 4 in the opener, hitting a cool .400 in this postseason. You talk about the fact that Tomlin will give up a lot of contact. 36 home runs allowed, the 2nd most in the American League behind Jared Weaver, but he also has the best ratio of walks per 9 innings, just 1 per 9 innings.
What I found interesting, Terry Francona, when we talked to him today, said, hey, he's going to give up his home runs. We just hope they're solos. 21 of those 36 home runs, solo home runs this year.
2 balls, 1 strike. The count to Encarnacion. Here it comes. Count even. Take a look at this with the sun and the shadows. Now you see me, now you don't. Whoa.
Well, I know for the hitters, it's got to be extremely frustrating. You play night games almost predominantly all season long, and now in the biggest games of the year, you're in the afternoon. Pitchers, they love it.
Tomlin in a situation he did not find himself in against Boston, and that's a full count.
You know, I'm trying to watch the hitter's reaction to the ball just to see if I get any indication. And Donaldson and Edwin right here are the 2 hottest Blue Jays, and they're having trouble seeing the ball. You can see them shaking their head, the types of swings and the way they're taking the ball. They're not picking it up very well at all.
Is it interesting to you that Edwin has shades on?
I mean, it's a desperate sort of move. You want to do anything you can to kind of cut the glare.
Payoff pitch hit up the middle. Try somebody else. Kipnis handles them all flawlessly. They go to the bottom of the first. For the Indians, Rajai Davis leading it off. Kipnis in the 2-hole. There's Lindor, who homered last night. Napoli hits cleanup. Carlos Santana, the designated hitter. Then Ramirez, Guyard, Chisenhall, who has hit safely in every game for Cleveland, and Roberto Perez is the catcher.
Some of the problems you run to this time of year is that starting pitchers will have a lot of rest. 2 starts that Happ has had this year on 7 days rest, which he has today. 0-1 with almost a 6 ERA. He's a guy who likes to pitch on his 4 days. That keeps his control.
Just a few days away from his 34th birthday is J. Happ. You look at it, it's J.A. Happ, but he prefers J. Happ. That ball is hit to left. And Carrera made the play. A little hesitation right at first. And you see that there's a streak of sun right out there in left field, but he made the play.
Well, it's definitely going to affect the defense. Also, Carrera, Pilar, and Bautista in right. Donaldson, and then the gold up the middle with Tulowitzki and Varney and Encarnacion and Russell Martin, of course. Well, Darwin Varney has a record in the National League, 141 straight games without an error at second base. That's while he was with the Cubs.
Happ throws a strike to Jason Kipnis. Encarnacion after that at bat to end the top half of the first. Something they'll all be dealing with here for a while today. So I guess the cautionary tale, Cal, is hey, run everything out, especially hit a ball in the outfield, run it all out, and then good luck to you at the plate here early on.
Yeah, I was wondering if Edwin was actually talking about hard to see at home plate or hard to see on the defensive side. It looks like, to me, that's a hitter's face of disgust. Just like playing in cold weather, when you hit a ball at the end of the bat, it takes your life, your spirit away from hitting.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Breaking pitch, hit to center. Pilar, 2 down.
Cal, didn't you tell me that you played a game at a similar time here, and Mussina and Hershiser were almost unhittable?
Yeah, we started at that game, and it was almost like the first 8 innings you couldn't see. I think it was a 3:05 game. Mussina was throwing the ball really well, struck out 15, and I think Orel at that time struck out 8. But it felt like to us the game didn't start till the 9th.
Well, here's the guy who had them on their feet last night. Switch hitting shortstop Francisco Lindor. hit his home run left-handed. Breaks his bat and gets it into left center field for a base hit, just out of the reach of Tulowitzki.
When you're hot, you're hot. Those things seem to happen to you more. Gets sawed off. Right on the handle. The bat goes flying. Good swing, though. Produced a line drive, not with a lot of force on it, but it happened to get in the right spot to get through.
You know what's funny to me is Tulowitzki looked back, because not only was the ball coming at him, but the bat was coming at him at the same time.
Yeah, so true. You might not track the right one at first. That does happen, and all of a sudden you see one thing, and then you realize the ball's the other thing. I think that's a good observation, Ronnie.
Here's Napoli. Guy who had 101 runs batted in the regular season, still looking for his first RBI of the postseason.
Couldn't see much of a hesitation there on that replay. But when you have two things coming at you, it might just take a split second before you know which one's which. I used to find that at third base to be a whole lot more nerve-wracking. At shortstop, you got a little bit more time and the bat doesn't come that far out. If you're playing in for a bunt and the bat head can actually get you before the ball gets to you.
Ball and 2 strikes.
Did you see Napoli there? He had sunglasses to start that at bat. He just threw it to the bat boy. He said, "That's not working. I can't see."
Strikes out to end the first. We head to the second. Scoreless in Cleveland. Don't miss the Dodgers and the Cubs. Game 1 of the NLCS tonight, 8 o'clock on FS1. Here it's Game 2, ALCS. Top of the second. Josh Tomlin to Jose Bautista, who takes a strike. 0-1. Bautista just 3 for 18 in this postseason, 2 of them home runs. He was 0 for 3. Sorry, Cal. 0 for 3 last night.
I'm still looking and I'm fascinated by the hitter's reactions. That was a pretty good pass at that fastball, which brings me back to I always believed the fastball was easier to track. It was hard to see than a curveball. Curveball has a little bit more depth. You got to look at it a little longer. You have to watch it all the way to home plate. With the fastball, it almost comes in on the same plane, and you can time that. You still need to see it, but I thought it was a little easier to hit than the breaking balls.
That curveball nosedived into the dirt in front of the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes to the Blue Jays cleanup hitter, and Tomlin to the plate. So Indians pitching got back-to-back shutouts in the postseason in this ballpark, and now 20 straight scoreless innings here in the postseason at Progressive Field. And I'd love to get your thoughts, Ronnie, on Tomlin, a guy who, okay, we're ready to start the ALCS. I'm going to be starting Game 3 in Toronto. Trying to gear yourself up at that point, and then all of a sudden here comes this drone injury to Trevor Bauer, and you're home pitching Game 2.
Well, I think the great thing is Josh Tomlin is the kind of kid, 31 years old, who's got enough experience, and he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. There are some guys that if you take them out of their rhythm, they have no chance of success. He said all the right things. I'm just happy to pitch. Give me the ball anytime he can.
On the ground in the hole, Lindor. What a throw. Did he hold the bag? Yes, he did. 1 down. Toronto may want the umpiring crew to have another look at this.
You know what's interesting to me? I thought Napoli should have came off the bag and just tagged Bautista.
He got out a little early, and they got stuck out there and couldn't stretch any further.
I don't think he stayed on. I think he's safe at first base. Got to challenge it. I would have gotten off the base, caught it, and just tagged Bautista. Had plenty of time.
That angle's tough right there.
Yes, it is.
And that we are. Let's see if he did drag the toe once he made the play.
That's awful close, but I don't think there's a lot there to turn it over.
A lot of talk about the stretch and did he hold the bag, but the play Lindor made out there, Cal, all in one motion with the leap and throw.
Yeah, I found myself mesmerized watching him take ground balls the other day, and he was practicing that bounce throw to first base. So he didn't do it just because he didn't have enough arm strength. He intended to throw the ball and skip it over there on the ground.
It was a play that was used a lot in the 70s when there were a lot of AstroTurf fields.
2 balls and no strikes to Troy Tulowitzki, moving up to the number 5 hole here for game 2. Dropping Russell Martin back a spot. Tulowitzki 1 for 4 in the opener. Had a great series against the Texas Rangers in that sweep and is hitting .333 in the postseason. Big breaking pitch missed.
Now remember, the teams have 2 challenges before the 6th inning, so you know you want to make sure that you use them if you have to, if a play is close.
On the ground again. So what's going to work best in the late afternoon sunny skies of Cleveland? That's what's going on in the Toronto dugout in between innings.
Yeah, many different colored lenses that kind of light up. Some yellow, red lenses. You're trying to cut the glare, but also to be able to lighten things up here too.
Brings up Russell Martin, 0 for 4 in the opener with a couple of strikeouts, and now for the postseason just 1 for 20 with 7 strikeouts. Does have a home run. Came against the Rangers.
Well, if you're an infielder, be ready. But Josh Tomlin, so far 5 ground ball outs.
So you're talking whether Josh would want to pitch, you know, in the second game or not. Let me think. It's at home. It's in the shadows. It's really difficult to see. Yeah, I'd want to pitch the second game.
On the ground, and this one's going to get through for the Blue Jays' first hit. And it comes from a guy who could really use it in Russell Martin.
I'm wondering if the conditions have gotten just a tad better, because the 3 hitters this inning have actually squared up the ball pretty well.
Little cutter there from Tomlin. Nice job by Russell.
Here's the designated hitter, Michael Saunders. One of 2 lefties in that Toronto lineup here in game 2. Career high 24 home runs this season.
He took some of the better at bats, I thought, against Kluber last night. A couple of hits on some breaking balls.
And here's a big left-handed hitter that hits the ball enough the other way that they're forced to play a more conventional defense against him. He's got power to hit the ball in the ballpark, but he also, as we saw yesterday, he could stay on the ball and push it to the opposite field.
Inside with the 0-1, count even. Talked to Josh Tomlin the other day about that first game in the postseason in his career at Fenway Park. Possible clincher. Said that the thing he had to remember to do early on is just to breathe. He said that atmosphere, you're in that historic park, the stakes so high for your team. He delivered, pitching into the 6th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here it comes, breaking pitch and a beauty. 1-2.
Well, Tallman's been a good luck charm for them. June 4th, this is the good curveball. He pitched them into first place. They never saw second again. Pitched the last game of the season where they got home field advantage against the Red Sox. And here pitching this afternoon.
Strikeout number 1 ends the top half of the second. It's Game 2 in Cleveland on TBS. Live every postseason moment with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. It's the only place to get it all. Live radio feeds, video highlights, pitch tracking, StatCast, and much more. Download At Bat today. At bat for the Indians here. Bottom half of the second. Carlos Santana.
Santana, who usually leads off against right-handed pitching, goes down to the 5-hole against the left-hander.
The 1-0 from Jay Happ. Not even.
So he's a little slower out of the box from the right side running?
I don't know. I think he just is more of a contact kind of guy from the left side, maybe a little more pop from the right side.
There's some pop to left. That ball is out of here. Carlos Santana with his first home run, his first run batted in of this postseason. And he gives the Indians an early lead. Well, the Indians haven't trailed in the last 35 innings this postseason, and they jump out on top here in the second.
Yeah, I wasn't sure from the side here whether that looked like an off-speed pitch. Gets out on it. Nice line drive that barely clears the high wall in left field.
Strike 3 to Jose Ramirez, 1 down. You mentioned that wall out there. There's Trevor Bauer. He of drone maintenance fame. You talk about the wall out there, it's 19 feet, which is about half as high as the Green Monster, which is 37 feet. One of the distinguishing factors or features of this ballpark, progressive field. Brandon Geyer is the hitter, and our director Matt Litt will give you the nickel tour of the place here. After this pitch to Geyer, fouled up toward third in center field. It's where you've got Heritage Park out there, which honors all of the Indians legends. And if you're wondering, those are English oak trees in the back, and then arborvitae. Hope I'm saying that correctly. I looked at a YouTube video to make sure. That's kind of the hedge plant that's right there over the wall at the 400 mark.
I didn't know you were such an arborist. Unbelievable.
No, I mean, if all it takes is getting on YouTube to be an arborist, then thank you very much. Geyer fouls it back. He had a good game in the one game he started against the Boston Red Sox in the ALDS. Went 3 for 4, knocked in a run. There's the home run ball of Carlos Santana. Kid's got a death grip on it, doesn't he?
Yeah. You know, we came into this series talking about the power of the Blue Jays, and the difference so far has been 2 home runs by the Indians.
Reached out and slapped it to second. Barney on the run, throws him out. 2 down. Big sunglasses day here with the late afternoon sun. And Cal, let's go old school, huh?
Yeah, I thought I would go old school. I found some flip down sunglasses here. They don't really use them that much anymore, but they stay up here when you're watching a ground ball. When as soon as the ball goes up in the air, you just flip them down with either side, and now you can actually see better in the sky. But most of the time, those glasses were so dark, you couldn't keep them down and look at the hitter.
Hey, Darwin Barney's sporting them.
So that little extension on the glasses sticks just far enough outside of your cap that you kind of flip your cap down and it'll catch the glass to make it go down.
Yeah, if you're not really good at it, sometimes you knock your hat off too when you do it. But the idea is it sticks out a little bit and you just hit it down and it just goes right down and it clips back up again.
And at other times, it just looks good.
That's right.
Lonnie Chisenhall hitting .462 in this postseason. Has hit safely in every game for the Indians. And half to the plate, fouled away.
And he gets in the lineup because left-handed pitching has not hurt him. In this postseason, he had 2 hits against Price, including a 3-run homer.
The 1-2 is grounded up the middle. Barney throws him out. But some second inning damage done by Carlos Santana. 19-foot wall. That went 20. Bleacher Report on Instagram. And get the coolest sports content before anybody else. Join millions of others and follow Bleacher Report on Instagram right now. Kevin Pillar leads it off. Top half of the 3rd here in Game 2. And there's a strike from Tomlin, 0-1.
You know, it might not mean anything because you can't see the ball yet, but the wind's blowing straight out, and the ball was flying in BP today.
Well, it's interesting that John Gibbons was saying, and Terry Francona, that the ball, and we saw on the game against the Red Sox, the ball will fly out to right center and right field here.
Boy, did he pull the string there. 1-2. Tomlin was a college shortstop. Did some pitching while he was also playing short in junior college. There's a tapper to 3rd. That'll be easy for Ramirez. 1 out. Told me the other day that he liked, you know, he's always had good control. A lot of that comes from playing catch with his dad, who if he threw it wayward, he had to go chase it. And certainly one offshoot of always having great control was at the first baseman at Lufkin Junior College, or at Angelina Junior College in Lufkin.
Yeah.
He was always taking throws right in the chest. Didn't have to stretch much.
He was the Alan Trammell of college ball. Cal knows what I mean.
And Alan Trammell, if he threw a ball a little off to someone's shoulder, it was a wild throw for him. He was automatic.
Darwin Barney, the number 9 hitter. He's getting the start at second base. Devin Travis re-injuring or aggravating his knee injury last night. Had to leave the game. Back in Toronto for an MRI. Replaced by Justin Smoke on the ALCS roster for Toronto. Up the middle for Barney. That's a base hit. And after going 0 for 8 this postseason, he breaks through here in the 3rd.
Well, Tomlin's going to give up some hits. 174 innings pitched, 187 hits to go with those 36 home runs. But you know what the Cleveland pitching has done? If you're an offense, what do you always say? Let's put up a crooked number. 2, 3, 4 runs. Well, the Cleveland pitching No multi-run inning in their last 50 innings pitched. Remarkable number for Mickey Callaway and his pitchers.
Top of the order now in Ezekiel Carrera. He grounded to second his first time. Carrera takes a good long look at Luis Rivera, the third base coach. And now back in the box. Grounded to short. One play for Lindor, and that's to first. 2 down. Runner was going. Lindor was on his way to the bag and had to stop himself and make that play.
You know, I had a sense that something was going on. I could see Luis Rivera giving the signs, and the hitter and the runner on first base was looking very intently. And then I asked myself, wait a minute, they don't hit and run anymore. But that was a designed hit and run play. And if you have coverage up the middle and you're suspecting a double play, I would always be a little bit later covering and kind of make a short route towards the hitter so you can hang a little longer so you can read the play at home plate.
Yeah, you saw Lindor have to put on the brakes, make the backhand stop, and threw him out. So Barney in scoring position with 2 down.
So he's coming in. All of a sudden he sees the play at the plate, and he's agile enough and quick enough to stop and go back and make that play. That's a good play, I think, in the postseason, a hit and run, because if you hit the ball on the ground, you stay out of the double play and you advance someone to scoring position. But if you hit the hole, it's first and third.
Line drive, right field, base hit. That's going to tie the game. Barney can score easily. Donaldson on his way to second, and he's in there with a sliding double. Josh Donaldson delivers and ties the game here in the third. So playing hit and run pays off for John Gibbons as Donaldson plates the first run for Toronto.
Well, he's been swinging the bat so well. Stays on this ball and drives it. But I thought the good part too was he used his eyes down in the corner to go ahead and take second base. Chisenhall couldn't plant and throw. He gets to second base, and now he's in scoring position.
We've seen many managers here in the postseason, even though they have a team designed to go one way, go outside of the box to get something going. And that's what John Gibbons did with the hit and run.
Encarnacion takes a breaking pitch over 0-1.
Toronto had been 0 for 18 with men on base and 2 outs until that hit by Donaldson.
One down low, count even. You look at the series against the Texas Rangers when the Blue Jays hit .471, 8 for 17 with runners in scoring position, and then last night went 0 for 5.
Well, Donaldson's been 4 for 4 with runners in scoring position. He's been money. Napoli came in to talk to his right-hander Tomlin. Napoli has been the leader of this ball club since he came here this winter.
Nobody covering, but the bluff got Donaldson back to the bag.
This Toronto team's a pick your poison team. Encarnacion, though, the hotter hitter of the two, he or Bautista.
1-2. Well, the Blue Jays certainly had their chances in Game 1 in the early innings. First 4 innings had at least one runner in scoring position. Couldn't cash in. They have here in the 3rd inning in Game 2. And looking for more. Two on the way. Missed with the breaking pitch. Encarnacion thought it was 4. It's actually 3. But don't worry, nobody saw that.
Just the way he's taking the ball, you can tell this at bat he's seeing the ball a little bit better than the first time up. And that curveball, just for a miles per hour, his curveball 73, 74, 75. Last night we saw Kluber's, his curveball was around 83, 84. And that's a big break. So the change of speed and the break is also something the hitter has to worry about.
I'd throw another curveball here.
He did. He bounced it. And that is ball 4. 1st and 2nd now with 2 down.
No, that exactly wasn't a pitch around, but he was not going to give Encarnacion a fastball to hit. He's picked his poison. It's going to be Bautista.
His ground out to short to lead off the 2nd made him 3 for 19 in this postseason. There's a strike, 0-1.
He's 3 for 19, but he's always dangerous in the postseason. 6 home runs, 16 RBI, in 60 at bats.
Missed with that breaking pitch. It's 1-1.
You can see Donaldson doesn't have a base stealing sort of lead. He's 2 steps behind the bag, more towards the shortstop, which gives him a good angle to cut at third base, and he's getting really good secondary lead.
How do you think, Cal, that the afternoon sun at this point now, how is it changed in what you're seeing at the plate as a hitter?
Well, it's a much more even lighted area from the pitcher's mound to home plate. It's still a little bit hard because you got that right backdrop all the way back in center field, but at least the lighting conditions are the same from the pitcher's mound to home plate. So it's a little darker, and it's a little easier to pick up the ball now. It's more consistent, same light conditions.
Runners lead from 1st and 2nd. Tie game. Bautista had a notion, laid off. 2-1.
It's almost like Tomlin's overthrowing that curveball. He's usually a guy that can throw that curveball for a strike at any time. He's throwing the one that you would throw in 2 strikes and trying to get ahead. That's why he's behind.
Big cut. Came up empty. 2-2.
You can tell the hitters are out in front of that breaking ball, and you're right, Ronnie. He needs to drop it in for a strike because he's fooling them when he chooses when to throw it. But by not getting it over, it's getting him into hitters' counts.
You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about the shadows here. The shadows that are the problem now. If you see Jeff Manship up in the Indians bullpen, his right fielder Chisenhall. It's going to be an issue in right.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Got him swinging to end the third. But the Blue Jays tie things up. Last year's MVP coming up huge here in the third. All tied. Upcoming in this series Monday in Toronto. Game 3 come on the air at 7 o'clock, and then Game 4 Tuesday, an afternoon tilt from Rogers Center. 2-3-2 format as we head to Toronto for games 3, 4, and 5 if necessary. 6 and 7 will be back here in Cleveland. Roberto Perez leading it off against Jay Happ.
We were talking about Jay Happ before. What's changed in his pitching style? 28-5 since last August 14th. Hey, listen, he got a lot of runs this year, but he had some great games. His problem always was in his career. He would have a month, a half a year. They're as good as anybody's, but he could never finish the year off. He now is able to do that because his pitch counts are not where they're 100, 105 after 5+ innings. Stays later in the games.
1 ball, 2 strike pitch. On low, 2-2.
His arm slot when he was with the Astros, see how high it was. He's dropped it down. That's allowed him to sink the ball. He used to always be a pitcher that would pitch from about the letters up, and now he pitches around the knees and occasionally elevates the baseball.
Fouled back, and oh, I thought I had one.
Well, if you would have reached down a little bit, we might have lost you to the crowd, but
don't want any of the equipment to go.
Oh.
I got a good view of that right now, Ernie. I saw you lean out. It seemed like you reacted late to the ball.
That was anti-Lindor.
Can you close his mic, please? I got a late break on that, but could not have made the play anyway, Iron.
You were in good position, though, ultimately.
Shadows, Cal.
3-2. Missed inside. Perez draws a leadoff walk here in the bottom half of the third. Moments ago, Sam Ryan spoke with Blue Jays pitching coach Pete Walker.
Pete, Jay not seeing the early traffic that he saw in the DS against the Rangers. What's the difference?
You know what? Right now, I think he's throwing the ball really good right now. He got burned by one sinker down the way that came back over the middle part of the plate, but I think his fastball command for the most part has been good. He's actually showing some good secondary stuff right now. That curveball's working. The cutter's been effective, so that's a good sign.
In your opinion, how are the early shadows, first inning in particular, factoring in?
Yeah, I haven't heard much complaining from our guys on the bench, so, you know, we take advantage of that if we can. But as pitchers, we just go about our business and try to make pitches.
Thanks so much.
You got it, Sam.
Thanks, Sam and Pete. Saw Rajay Davis run up to bunt. 0-1.
So I guess that homer was a sinker. It wasn't a good four-seam fastball up, but fastball nonetheless. It went for a homer.
That's in the dirt. Martin, kind of an awkward block of that one.
Catchers will tell you the hardest pitch to block is the fastball. Why? Because you just assume the pitcher's going to throw it for a strike, not bounce it in there.
Took something off, and Davis was way out front.
Happ's curveball is a big breaker, but it also is a lot slower. Again, 75 miles an hour. It serves as a big changeup as well as a ball that breaks a lot.
Count even 2-2. Jay Happ gave up a leadoff home run in the second inning to Carlos Santana. That got Cleveland on the board, but His mates rallied for a run in the third. Josh Donaldson's run-scoring double tied the game. That's where we are, bottom of the third. On the ground to short. There's one. The speedy Davis beats the Rap at first. Not really a perfect double play ball, Cal.
No, wasn't a double play ball at all. And you got to be careful. Troy made sure he made a good throw right here to keep the double play in order now. But whether it gets a speedy runner, slow hit ball, there's virtually no chance for that. You'll see some young shortstops try to make that into a double play, and then you'll make a mistake at second base, and all of a sudden you have a chance for a big inning. Troy made sure that he got the first out and kept the double play in order right here.
So the guy who led the American League in stolen bases is aboard with one out here in the third. Rajai Davis was 43 for 49. Hasn't been on here in the postseason. He's 0 for 8. He does have an RBI on a sacrifice fly, but now he's on the base paths. Got that big oven mitt on the left hand. And there he goes immediately. Throw down by Martin's going to be late.
I was thinking he must have something on him, because even that step-off move where he didn't throw over, it looked like he was ready to go then.
I know what you mean, Cal. A lot of these great base runners, base stealers, they have a tell. You know, when you play poker, some poker people have a tell, something they do when they have a good hand or a bad hand. Well, left-handed pitchers a lot of times have a tell when they're going to go home or when they're going to go to first.
It's one area of the game that I had very difficult time seeing. We had Davey Lopes, our first base coach for a while, tried to point all those things out to me, and it was like I was looking, you know, what are you looking? Where do you see that? But base stealers can pick it up in a heartbeat and go.
So Davis, the go-ahead run at second. Kipnis takes down low. I talked to Rajai Davis, who's going to turn 36 next week. I said, okay, so the 2006 rookie version of Rajai Davis and the 2016 version, who wins in a race? He said the 2016 older version, because I can train better, I'm more explosive, and I'm a better runner. That ball bounces away from Martin, and the throw to third will be late. The speed element coming into play here in the third in Cleveland.
You had a good, real close-up view of the speed of Davis coming into third base. And we had that argument or discussion about whether you can hold the base or not. And it seems like he's got a lot of speed coming in, and both the slide into second base and the slide into third, he made sure that he kept contact with the base. But it wasn't easy.
What's interesting with Russell Martin there, he never got the glove turned around. He tried to almost backhand it, and that's how he lost the play.
Stolen base to second, wild pitch to third. Infield in as Kipnis waits and swings through it. 3-1.
Look at his glove. You want to turn that glove back over the other way. It makes for an easier play. Just cut it right off the end.
3-1. Kipnis waiting. In the air behind short. Carrera in and shallow left, and absolutely no chance for Davis to tag. 2 down. So here's Lindor. Love that stat, Ronnie. I know you always do when you look at the top 10 in the American League in wins, and he's hitting 400 against him. Certainly Jay Happ in that company. A 20-game winner. Line drive, base hit up the middle. And Cleveland's back on top. Lasagna power.
This looked like a sinker down and away. And Lindor was just trying to go straight back up the middle, stays on it. And drives it through the box for a hit.
Boy, that was nothing but barrel right there. Indians on top, 2-1, and here's Mike Napoli.
Hapa's got to make sure that he pays attention. There's the Believe land spikes. Pays attention to Napoli. Napoli hitting over 400 with 9 home runs when he puts the ball in play on first pitch.
Coming into this game, Napoli, Santana, and Ramirez, 3 potent offensive forces on this team, had not had an RBI this postseason. Santana changed all that with his home run in the 2nd inning. Napoli trying to break through in the RBI column.
Jay Happ, no pickoffs this year. You can tell he doesn't have a great move for a lefty.
He's ahead of Napoli 0-2.
Sometimes you don't run on first base to let the hitter at the plate swing, to get a chance to swing. If you do steal second base and first base is open, it takes the bat out of the hand. But I think this Cleveland team just wants to get to second base.
There he goes, and the ball is grounded down the line at third. Fair ball. Donaldson throws across and gets Napoli. But Cleveland reclaims the lead, and it's that guy again. The NBA is back on TNT. Tune in Tuesday, October 25th for the Knicks and Cavs, followed by the Spurs and Warriors. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern. Live from Cleveland, the Cavs well represented again here at Progressive Field today. We move to the top half of the 4th, and Troy Tulowitzki takes high and away 1-0.
Remember before the 2nd game of the division series against the Red Sox, LeBron spoke to the crowd, said, "You backed us on our quest. You have to back these guys."
Rounder, Ramirez. One back. Mickey Callaway is the pitching coach of the Cleveland Indians. Sam Ryan spoke with him.
Making some 3rd inning trouble for Josh, but getting the ground ball outs. What do you like?
Yeah, you know, I like it a lot. I think he's keeping the ball down well, getting it to the halves that he wants to get it to. And you know what? He navigated that inning pretty well. You know, he had some really good hitters coming up with some guys on. Donaldson went the other way for a good double, and then he did a really good job of not giving the next couple of hitters anything to hit.
He was originally scheduled to go Game 3 on Monday, moved up just yesterday. How did that affect his schedule?
Well, he didn't get to throw a bullpen, so, you know, these starters, they like their routines, but if anybody can handle it, Josh Tomlin can, so we're glad he's out there today.
Thanks, Mick.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mickey and Sam. As Josh Tomlin goes back to work with 1 down here in the 4th, facing Russell Martin.
Big swing there by Martin. 8 ground ball outs so far for Josh Tomlin. His shutdown ERA is a little lower than his regular ERA at 4.17. He wasn't able to get it done last inning. See if he can get it done this inning.
Martin fought that off. Ball and 2 strikes.
I can't help but think about when Cleveland takes the lead, what Francona's thinking about bringing Miller in.
Got him with that big curveball. 2 up and 2 down here in the 4th.
Cal, that's that breaking ball you were talking about when he throws it for a strike.
Clearly out in front of it. It's hard to wait on a big breaking ball that comes in about 73 miles an hour.
We asked Terry Francona before the game, was Andrew Miller available? He said he only threw 31 pitches last night. Of course he's available.
There's a strike to Saunders. Yeah, Miller remaining unscored upon in his postseason career. All 5 outs, strikeouts, as he allowed 1 hit. Big message board here says scream. That inning was a scream for Tomlin. 3 up, 3 down. Head to the bottom of the 4th. Time for the art of performance, presented by Jaguar. See Justin Turner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have made it to the National League Championship Series. Playing Game 1 against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley tonight. Carlos Santana had a big old cut, trying to duplicate what he did in the 2nd inning. Solo home run.
Boy, Turner's made himself into a great player, money player. He was 10 for 19 last year with 6 doubles and 4 RBIs in the postseason.
Happ jumps out ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. Here it was in the bottom half of the 2nd. This didn't take long at all to get out.
Yeah, it looked like a sinker that didn't get to where it was supposed to. It didn't sink and stayed on the inside part of the plate.
First home run and first RBI of this postseason for Santana, who hit 34 homers with 87 runs batted in.
Hey, Ronnie, what about that high strikeout percentage on fastballs for Happ? Like 70-some% of his strikeouts come with a fastball.
But what he will do now is that before he used to throw almost all of his pitches up in the strike zone, but now he tries to live around the knees, and if he gets ahead, he'll come up with the fastball.
Well, to go from 0-2 to a full count.
Doesn't seem to be controlling his breaking ball yet. Again, we talked about 7 days since he pitched last, when he struggled through 5 innings and 9 hits given up against the Texas Rangers.
The payoff. Strike 3 call, 1 down.
The 3-2 changeup totally froze him. He had to be thinking in the back of his mind, I hit his fastball the first time up. And here's the grip on the changeup. It fools him, freezes him, takes it for a strike.
Here's Jose Ramirez. 0-1.
It's 2 in a row now, so finding his way with that changeup.
Ramirez struck out his first time and grounds this to second. Barney got him by a step. 2 down. Brandon Geyer steps in, getting the start in left field with a left-handed starter.
We see the folks in right field, they still hands over their eyes, trying to get a view of this game with the sun in their eyes.
Geyer takes down and away. This is a guy who was hit by pitch 31 times this year, 23 of those when he was with the Rays and 8 with the Indians. And he says that because he has more of a closed stance these days and pitchers started pitching him in, that he was taking a lot of A lot of pitches off of that front leg. But 31's a lot, Iron Man.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out. I think he takes a few of them intentionally, is what I guess. Instead of moving out of the way, kind of puts his leg down there and takes them. I see the point of getting on base, but I don't see the point of taking the pain.
At 31, you think that's a lot, and then you think back to Ron Hunt, 50.
Doesn't seem that close to the plate. He just strides in and stays right there.
Missed inside. The count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Once upon a time, he was a guy who was a highly thought of Cubs prospect. He and Chris Archer were traded to Tampa in the Matt Garza deal. He just did get a piece. Jay Happ, 2 up and 2 down, looking for a 1-2-3 inning, and that bounces up. 3-2.
Well, it hasn't seemed like Brandon Guyer's been very comfortable in this at bat, but boy, he's really worked the pitch count.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Here it comes. The battle continues.
So Ronnie, talk about these type of bats from the pitcher's perspective. 9, 10, 11 pitches.
At some point, you're like, put the ball in play, please. I mean, come on. But you know, you have these battles. It's because as a pitcher, it's 3-2, 2 outs. You need to throw a strike. You don't want to walk anyone. The hitter knows that. So that's why that battle comes. Very hard to get a swing and miss. 3-2.
Well hit on 1 hop to second, and Barney will throw it out. 1-2-3 inning for Jay Happ. 4 innings in the books in Game 2.
2016 ALCS telecast on TBS is brought to you by new Wagner OEX for stopping performance. It's the brake pad the top techs recommend. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Top half of the 5th inning, and look at that play by the former infielder Josh Tomlin. That little slow dribbler up toward first, and he scooped it up and took it himself.
You know, when you're in spring training and you're doing pitchers fielding practice, that's that in-between play. You practice it over and over and over. And if you're a pitcher who has got enough speed, and Tomlin does, you make that play yourself. Not that easy to make it, but beautifully done.
So Kevin Pillar retired on 1 pitch. So as we came out of commercial break, some shots of Heritage Park out there in straightaway center field that honors all the Indians greats from years gone by, and Satchel Paige, the plaque out there. And this is a franchise dating back to 1901, and once upon a time they were the Blues, short for the Bluebirds. They were the Broncos. They were the Naps at one point in honor of Nap Lajoie. And then they became the Indians in 1915. So we've got a little baseball history, some botany today out there.
The little Food Channel
network
for you.
Yeah, with Lindor's mom giving us the lasagna.
Rub it in, guys.
No balls, 2 strikes to Darwin Barney. Breaking pitch fouled back.
Boy, Tomlin looks better now than he did before. 9 groundouts and 4 strikeouts.
Really's got good command of that breaking ball now. We talked about it earlier. He was holding on to it a little too long. He's got a nice release point, nice feel for it now.
Facing Barney here, who singled his last time and scored the Toronto run, but he takes a look at strike 3 for the second out here in the 5th.
Cal, that looked like that little indoor cutter that they throw at the right-hander's hip, and it came back just enough to catch that inside corner.
You can see the target was set up a little higher, so they wanted to elevate it to the top side of the strike zone. I think they barely hit that. From the side, it didn't look like a good pitch, but on the replay, it's right there.
Strike 1 to Ezekiel Carrera. There was that look of resignation. I know, Cal, you know this feeling though. If you're fooled on a breaking pitch or something, and that is going to be a strike, and you knew it. Not that it ever happened often to you.
Well, only every game.
Two strikeouts in a 1-2-3 inning for Josh Tomlin, who is through 5. And the Indians lead Game 2 by 1. Look at one of the great sports bars in North America. Real Sports Bar and Grill in Toronto.
Nice.
And got to be a little anxious there at Real Sports with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, they've come here in droves. There's a lot of Blue Jay fans here. Just hoping that their 20-game winner just can hold the game here until they can get their thunder going.
Ronnie Chisenhall leads it off and fouls it away. The Blue Jays with homers in every postseason game coming into this series. Shut out in Game 1. They have managed to run in Game 2 on a run-scoring double by Josh Donaldson. That came in the 3rd. The rookie Joe Biagini getting loose. Jay Happ starting Game 2. Going back to work here in the bottom half of the 5th. That misses.
I mentioned before there were 3 20-game winners in baseball. Rick Porcello with 22, 20 for Happ and 20 for Scherzer. Well, they beat Porcello already in the postseason, Cleveland. They're trying to beat their second 20-game winner.
And Toronto's got the 2-3-4 coming up next inning, and I know if I was Donaldson, who's going to lead off, I'm thinking, okay, leave him in the game. I need to see him. I need to see him one more time. And I know Francona's actually thinking, he's pitching really well. Let me just stay with him.
Well hit, base hit. Chisenhall has hit safely in every game for the Indians this postseason.
But maybe them being able to push a run across in this inning will make that decision a little easier. I'd be tempted. I'd be awful tempted to start to match up with the lead, and especially with the big boppers coming up.
Chisenhall now 7 for 15 in the postseason. Let's see what Roberto Perez does here. Number 9 hitter. Runner at first. Nobody out. Squares and cannot get wood on it. 0-1.
This is this thing you talk about, Cal, asking players to do things that they don't do during the regular season. Sometimes hard to be successful.
Yeah, you got to have confidence, and you got to be able to do it at game speed. You know, it's one thing bunting in batting practice at 60 miles an hour. Most people can do that. But the game speed.
Squaring early here too, Cal. And takes down low, 1-1. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mind. I never minded someone squaring early. You have the idea that you can control the bat. You can always bring it back. But the most important thing is for you to get out there and angle the bat and let the ball hit the bat and direct it where you want to go. He's got the opportunity to bunt it to first because Edwin is holding on. He's a little bit late there.
Squaring again, then draws it back and fouls it.
And if you make a quality bunt, it's still difficult to force a guy out at second base unless you're just really aggressively and overly charging and you're right on top of when he bunts it.
You know,
that's normally not the case.
He bunted 5 times, sacrificed 5 times this year, batted under 200. So he has done it this year, but probably swinging away here with 2 strikes.
He struck him out for the first out here in the 5th. StatCast powered by Amazon Web Services. This earlier with Rajai Davis, the American League leader in stolen bases, going just under 21 miles an hour with the steal of second, and then on the wild pitch he took third and eventually scored on Lindor's sharp single to center. They check at first for help, and Brian Gorman says he did not go. 1-0. Missed again. 2-0.
Davis is not all speed. He's got some pop. 12 home runs this year.
3 balls and no strikes. In the 3rd inning, it was a walk to Perez that opened the inning. Davis reached on a fielder's choice, stole second, went to third on the wild pitch, and then Lindor knocked him in.
No swing here, Cal, right?
No, definitely not.
Taking all the way, 3-1. Down the line, foul past third.
I was watching Mike Sarbaugh give his signs over there. Many times they have a hold sign on a 3-1 count, give the hitter a chance to really swing.
Davis up. 3-2-1 out. Francona says they don't run a lot.
I like the idea of starting the runner here.
I do too.
Short lead by Chisenhall, not going anywhere. Fouled away, and the bat goes toward the dugout.
What a play by the bat boy. It's the best play this season. Oh, 2 catches in the stands, and the bat boy with the bat. Nice job.
Towards second. Barney with a flip. There's one. Late at first. Davis again with the speed. Able to beat it out.
I'm a little surprised by that one because I think that's a turnable double play. Davis runs really, really well. Beat it down there. And I think both those guys would say we probably should have turned this one.
So 2 down now with Davis aboard.
But sometimes those double plays you don't turn because Davis is going to be off again.
Absolutely. Have to be a much bigger play. You want the outs when you get them, and you want to keep a base stealer off first.
He took off on the first pitch last time.
He doesn't look as aggressive right now, looking at him from this side. It's almost as if he's expecting a couple throws over first.
He's been outstanding against left-handed pitching, which is usually tougher for base stealers. 17 for 19 success rate.
Sometimes they can read the move, and sometimes they can just read the mind.
A ball and no strikes to Jason Kipnis, who's 0 for 2.
Most of the time nowadays, the throwovers are controlled from the bench or from the catcher. No throwover given from the catcher that time.
Kipnis looking for his first hit of the series. Was 0 for 3 in the opener, 0 for 2 today. And he bats with Rajai Davis, the former Toronto Blue Jay, at first. 2 down here in the 5th. Popped him up. Donaldson takes a look. Now that's a dozen rows back.
Kipnis missed the pitch there. He got a good pitch to hit.
Of course, you saw last night before he came to the plate late in the games, Terry Francona kissed his bat. I asked Terry, was that your idea or was it Kipnis? You know, he was looking for something. He said, do something here, Skip. Ball gets away on the pickoff attempt, and Davis easily into second. Scoring position. Unforced error. Indians trying to take advantage.
Well, when a left-handed pitcher doesn't have a pickoff all season long, it's because 1, they don't have a good move, and 2, they don't like throwing the ball to first base.
Well, that came to the bench, and there was a sign that says throw over, but it almost seemed like he didn't want to throw over. Let me just throw over and get the ball back.
First error for Toronto here in the postseason.
If that ball doesn't bounce straight back, Davis might be at third, but it bounced right back to Barney, who alertly recovered it. 1 ball and 2 strikes with Davis at second. Kipnis hanging in.
Cal, I think Rajai Davis might have the best secondary lead of anyone I've seen in baseball all summer long. I mean, he's halfway to third base when Kipnis was swinging the bat there with 2 strikes.
Yeah, I can't see his primary lead, but if you get a real big primary lead, it kind of limits how far you get off on your secondary. So I'd rather see him start a little shorter and then really get good 3 hops. The thing about him is he's so fast. He doesn't have to worry about those things nearly as much as the guy that doesn't have that speed. He wants to make sure he gets a jump and make sure he does everything he can to score that run. Rajai is more in a base stealing lead.
2-2 down low. Count full.
And what I mean by that is that you're in between second and third base in a straight line. If you decide to go, you have a shorter distance to run. Some of the other runners take a lead behind it, so they create an angle.
You would think with what Lindor's done that Kipnis has got to get a pitch to hit here.
Happ at the belt. Here it comes.
And that was a good one to hit. Just fouled it straight back.
Davis, your runner at second. Kipnis at the plate, waiting on a 3-2 pitch, and Lindor in the on-deck circle. He's 2 for 2 with a run batted in and hit the big home run in Game 1. Slow roller up toward first. Encarnacion takes it himself. End of threat for Cleveland. 5 innings in the books in Game 2. Presented by the all-new Chrysler Pacifica. How about this 1-2 punch? Josh Donaldson, Edwin Encarnacion. All Donaldson's doing is hitting .500 in this postseason. Encarnacion, 3 home runs. Donaldson swings at the first pitch from Tomlin. Lindor on the run, throws him out. Boy, that's a big out to start the 6th inning.
Watch a shortstop here that uses his legs, comes in, gains ground on the ball, and throws accurately on the run. The backswing, he lets it go a little soon, hits Perez behind home plate.
So here's Encarnacion. Grounded out in the first, walked in the third. 1-run game and a dangerous hitter. Missed with a breaking pitch, 1-0. I asked one of the Blue Jays the other day. I said, look, who's the most underappreciated guy you think on this team that's unbeaten at that point in the postseason? In the air, a mile high to center. Rajai Davis, 2 down. And I expected maybe an Ezekiel Carrera kind of answer or something, or Devin Travis. The answer was Eddie.
Yeah.
Edwin Encarnacion. This player still didn't think he was getting the credit he deserves for as solid a player as he's been.
He's the most underrated power hitter in the game. You never hear him included when they talk about the 4 or 5 best power hitters in the game. He's one of them. And he's mad because he just missed that pitch.
Here's Bautista with 2 down. Rajai Davis making that last play. There's still some sun out there in center field. You wondered if for a second if he tracked it the whole way.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that was his way of calling for the ball, because he didn't panic. And even looking over at Chisenhall, they weren't discussing, hey, point it out to me like I lost it in the blue sky. The wind kind of carried it a little bit, but it looked like he had it under control to me.
Cal, there's a 6'7" guy warming up the Cleveland bullpen.
I mean, but what a performance you get. There's Miller, Brian Shaw on the right. If Josh Tomlin can get through the meat of this order in the 6th inning.
That's why I didn't think Francona would take that chance. 3rd time around, meat of their order.
One fastball in to set up that breaking pitch away. Only 1 ball in the air off Tomlin today. 10 ground outs and 6 strikeouts. That's the most he's had since July 30th.
Yeah, that fly ball to center field to Davis, the first of the afternoon. Bautista takes ball 4. And he's aboard with 2 down. There's about to be an ovation here in Progressive Field. 5 2/3 from Josh Tomlin. It won't be Miller, not yet. Ryan Shaw was loosening with him. Listen to that crowd. Cleveland bullpen. Part of the script here in Game 2. After 5 2/3 from Josh Tomlin. And it's Brian Shaw, the workhorse. Pitched in more games than anybody else in the American League.
This bullpen has been almost spotless. They've given up 2 runs in the postseason. Both have been charged to Brian Shaw.
He will face Troy Tulowitzki with Jose Bautista aboard with a 2-out walk. Tulowitzki 0 for 2, a couple of ground outs. Outside 1-0.
Tulowitzki 1 for 5 versus Shaw. Job well done by Tomlin. Got the notice he was starting with a text message, of course, from his pitching coach.
Originally supposed to start Game 3 in Toronto, then Trevor Bauer cuts his finger working on his drone, and suddenly, short notice, you're starting Game 2 at home, and Shaw delivers outside again, 2-0.
That's a big cutter for 95 miles an hour.
What makes it difficult against the righties is that he really throws kind of across his body. Crossfire.
There's a strike.
You just feel at some point this Blue Jay team is going to jump someone. That's what I was talking about, that crossfire. But he left the pitch up to Tulo there.
Had a little late movement on it. It was a good pitch to hit.
Cal, do you like Ramirez at third base, playing on the line, hugging that line?
I don't mind it. I like the conservative approach. They need a couple hits to beat you or tie you. You still have some options in the pen there. But if you give up an extra base hit, score from first, it's only 1 hit. So I would call him pinching the line.
2-2. Right back where it came from. We head to the bottom of the 6th. Cleveland still up 1.
This 2016 ALCS telecast on TBS is brought to you by Max Steel, now playing, and by USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of our current and former military members and their families.
Time for Records and Milestones, presented by Jim Beam. Drink smart. Francisco Lindor, the most popular guy in Cleveland these days. Big home run on Friday. Knocked in a run here in Game 2. And he faces Joe Biagini, who comes on in relief of Jay Happ. Biagini's a big guy, 6'5", 240.
Well, you know your scouting department is spot on when you have a Rule 5 draftee, and he's one of the most important parts of your bullpen in October.
A ball and a strike. Pitched in 2 games in the division series against Texas. 3 innings of work. No runs. Gave up a couple of hits. Lindor turns around into the left-hander's batter's box, and after going 2 for 2 from the right side against Happ. How about those numbers? Lindor, Santana, Chisenhall doing some heavy lifting. Oh, look out.
That was right at me.
It's like somebody.
I wasn't anticipating it. Wasn't anticipating that. I had my glove off. I thought he'd get the bat head out on that one.
I just want to know, is McRib all right down there?
He's still getting up from the ground.
Lindor goes down swinging, first out of the 6th.
Biagini's got 4 pitches. That good hard fastball, heavy fastball, big breaking ball, little cutter slider there that he struck out Lindor on, and the changeup. Just a tiny little cutter slider inside and under the bat of Lindor. Foul tip though.
26-year-old rookie. He's in 60 games for the Blue Jays this year. Here's Napoli. Napoli 0 for 5 in the series now, and still in search of his first run batted in of this postseason. No way in the world did the Indians find themselves in this position without this guy. Napoli.
Got to anticipate he's going to turn the fan on right now. 2-0. Not even close.
He looked good and under control in his approaches yesterday. Very calm right there on that 2-0 pitch. Not jumpy at all. Recognizing it was a ball right away.
Left-hander Brett Cecil loosening. Toronto down 2-1. We're playing in the 6th. Joe Biagini, second pitcher of the day for John Gibbons. Rounded to third, Donaldson. 2 up and 2 down. StatCast is powered by Amazon Web Services. The home run by Carlos Santana, the guy coming to the plate now. That came in the top half, or the bottom half of the second to lead off the inning. Took a called third strike in the 4th. Another of those switch hitters in Terry Francona's lineup, and the Blue Jays load up the right side of the infield.
You see on that shift that Donaldson's playing a little bit more truer to his side of the infield, because Santana did bunt.
Which surprised everybody, and I do mean everybody. One in the dirt, count even.
With all those switch hitters, the Indians get 70%. Their at-bats are favorable matchups. Lefty against righty, righty against lefty.
It's interesting in the managers meeting this morning. Cal, first thing you wanted to know about, how about that leadoff bunt by Santana? Something you guys talked about? He just did it.
He said he was as surprised as anyone. I was looking for a strategy. We're doing something that they weren't expecting, but Terry wasn't expecting it either.
3 balls, 1 strike. Count full with 2 down here in the 6th. Santana was drafted by the Dodgers. They traded him to Cleveland for Casey Blake 8 years ago. He draws a walk with 2 down here in the 6th. I talked about those numbers. We showed you the graphic a little while ago about Chisenhall and that group doing a lot of the damage here through a game and a half. Here's Ramirez, who had great regular season numbers, also hasn't knocked in a run here in the postseason.
He swung the bat pretty good against Boston. His at-bats were good.
Yeah, he's played well, and he's hit .385 coming into this game in the postseason. But when I was talking about your run producers, and he had 76 runs batted in for this team, and they've been getting it done without big RBI contributions from some guys you think might be right there. On the ground to Barney. And that'll do it for the Indians in the 6th. It's still a 1-run game in Game 2. Today's reliever spotlight presented by the Hartford. Look who's on here in the 7th.
Postseason career numbers, just can't describe them. They're off the hook. 22 strikeouts in 14 innings and a big fat 0 where runs are concerned.
Russell Martin will lead it off against Andrew Miller. Trying to protect a 1-run Indians lead here in Game 2. Ball and a strike. Look in the on-deck circle, and Melvin Upton Jr. has a bat. And he's got numbers against Andrew Miller. Inside, almost hit him.
So 90 and 91. Trying to get an indication whether he has his good fastball today. Maybe some of the wear and tear might be cutting a few miles per hour off.
Yeah, 83-mile-an-hour slider there. It gets to this time of year, your manager says, "Are you good to go, big fella?" The answer almost 100% of the time is, "Of course I am."
Miller's been in 3 games this postseason. 5 2/3, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, 3 hits, no runs. And he strikes out Russell Martin to open the 7th.
So with 2 strikes now against Andrew Miller, the opposition is now 1 for 17. Slider down and in, Cal, and the last 6 outs he's recorded the last 2 days have via the strikeout.
Well, when you watch him, scout him a little bit, when he gets in trouble, that's his go-to pitch. Even if it's 2-0, 3-1, he's shown confidence that he can get that pitch over.
Melvin Upton Jr. put a display on in batting practice. I know that usually doesn't mean anything, but some tremendous shots. There's his numbers against Miller. He might have the greatest numbers of anyone in baseball against Miller.
3 homers.
Ball and a strike. Upton, pinch hitting role last night, took a called third strike and was highly upset.
He had a right to be.
Didn't think much of that one either, and he talks to Jim Wolf about it. A nod of the head. A ball and 2 strikes. Cal, as you said last night, any time is Miller time, and tonight it's in the 7th inning of Game 2.
And normally it was predictable against the 3rd time around for the big guns. Tonight's a little later.
Late swing there by Melvin Upton, probably anticipating the slider, and got the fastball. Up to 95 miles an hour on that fastball, so heating up.
He's just getting loose then, huh? Here comes the breaking ball.
Trying to check his swing, and they check down with Brian Gorman, who says he did not go.
Officially now become the most unpopular person in Cleveland.
It looks funky from this side. Let's see what it looks like on the replay.
No, he didn't go. Good call by Brian Gorman.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. 2 up, 2 down, here in the 7th.
When you watch Miller pitch, as a former player, you say to yourself, was I really a pitcher? He makes it look too easy. Just carves up hitters.
Seven outs, all by the K in this series for Andrew Miller. And Kevin Pillar takes a strike, 0-1. Pillar 0 for 2 with a couple of ground outs, and he's behind 0-2. Struck out the side. Time to stretch in Cleveland, where the Indians lead it 2-1.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
Bottom half of the 7th here on TBS. Indians clinging to a 2-1 lead over Toronto in Game 2 of the American League Championship Series. Joe Biagini, second Toronto pitcher, begins his 2nd inning of work. And the first pitch to Brandon Guyer, hit to left, where Carrera makes the play, 1 down. And that brings up Lonnie Chisenhall. Seven for 15 in this postseason. Hit safely in every postseason game now for the Indians. Now 6:25 local time now in Cleveland, and no sun and shadows. What do you see from Biagini from your angle down there, Cal?
You know, you're expecting a lot more power stuff, but he seems to be mixes in some different off-speed pitches. Not your normal guy that comes out of the pen throwing hard just with 2 pitches.
You know what happens a lot of times for these Rule 5 picks? They are starters in the minor leagues that have not gotten over the hump and are not considered great prospects by their team. They're sometimes picked by another club and valuable for them in the bullpen.
Chisenhall hit on a bullet. Barney made a nice play. 2 down.
Yeah, I'd like to see the exit speed off of that one.
It seems that every ball Chisenhall hits is on the nose.
Barney's been impressive at second base, too.
Getting the start for Devin Travis. If you're just joining us, Travis, the only 300 hitter for the Toronto Blue Jays this year and a real catalyst at the top of the order for them. A bone bruise on the right knee. It's been bothering him for a while, and it really bothered him before Game 2 of the American League Division Series, so he missed the last 2 games of that one. Started in Game 1 of this series last night, had to leave the game, returned to Toronto for an MRI. His spot on the roster taken by Justin Smoke. And by rule, if you're replaced in a playoff series, you are out for the next series, which means should Toronto win this series, go to the World Series, they would have no Devin Travis.
It's also one of their more clutch players. .325 average with runners in scoring position.
So the MRI, being told by our producer Scott Cockrell, these are the results of the MRI. That it's an injury, not the bone bruise, but something different, but no specifics. 1-2 to Roberto Perez. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Nobody on. 1-2-3 inning for Biagini. We head to the 8th. 1-run game. ALCS begins in about an hour and a half on FS1. Dodgers Cubs game 1 at Wrigley. Check it out tonight. Here we head to the 8th. 2-1, Cleveland with the lead. Andrew Miller on for his 2nd inning of relief, and he faces Darwin Barney, who takes a strike.
You go back to the Boston series, the last 3 innings that Miller has pitched, 9 strikeouts.
Struck out the side in the 7th, and he's ahead 0-2 on Barney, who has scored the only Toronto run today. Singled in the 3rd, scored on a Josh Donaldson double. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. 1 down. 4 straight strikeouts for the lefty.
You know, I was trying to think of another guy that kind of reminds me of the fastball sort of slider that dives down and sort of the 3/4 delivery. The only guy I could think of that made me feel that way is Randy Johnson.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of Randy Johnson. Remember in 2001 when he was used in relief.
Carrera on the ground to Kipnis. 2 down.
Well, he does it all kind of different ways, but the wipeout pitch is that slider. He gets ahead with the fastball, and then that slider is just devastating. I think one of the things that makes it so hard to gauge, some of them break down, some of them break across, some of them kind of don't break at all. They're all different. So it's almost like he has 3 or 4 different sliders.
I know the one when he falls behind, he gets over, it's a little flatter. And the one he buries down and in is much sharper going down.
Here's Donaldson, who's knocked in the only Toronto run today. Remember, one swing of the bat ties this thing up.
Donaldson in the postseason against left-handed pitching, 6 for 6.
Donaldson steps out.
He's got a hit off of Miller too, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. A bullet up the middle.
Yeah.
He's 12 for 25 in this postseason.
And that bullet, if I remember right, was a breaking ball. And you see his first 2 pitches here are fastballs. But here's where you got to go back. Anytime he's got 2-0 or 3-1, he's going back to the breaking ball.
Yeah, he led off the 8th with a single last night, and then Miller struck out the next 3.
And that's that flat one that kind of gets you over the plate. And it's hard as a hitter when someone throws that hard to convince yourself, okay, I'm 2-0, 3-1. Let me go away from the fastball and just look for a breaking ball.
Off the corner. 2-2.
Can't throw a better pitch. By our strike zone, right on the corner.
Back to the slider again.
Untouchable. We head to the bottom of the 8th. MLB fans always stay connected to the game they love. Show us how you're baseball's #1 fan by using #UnlimitedBaseball for a free MLB Shop gift code and other epic prizes. LeBron James and other members of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the NBA champions here, as they watch the Indians in their quest to end a long World Series victory drought.
Well, this is a great move by Gibbons to bring in Roberto Osuna. We know of his numbers. We tend to forget sometimes that he's 21 years old. So to get him into a game before a day off and going back to Toronto, I think is a very smart deal.
The top of the Cleveland order, and Rajay Davis takes it side.
Ball was right at him, so he just dropped the bat. Never really seen anyone take a pitch like that.
Breaking pitch over, a ball and 2 strikes.
Well, Osuna went through a little tough stretch in September, but boy, he righted himself in the postseason and in the Texas series.
Davis scored the go-ahead run in the 3rd inning. He reached on a fielder's choice, stole second, went to 3rd on a wild pitch, and then trotted home on a sharp single to center by Lindor.
Rajay Davis does not have a hit, and it seems like he's been in the middle of everything all afternoon.
Osuna with the 1-2.
I like how Francona looks at it. I mean, he talks about having someone on your team that can make something happen and can manufacture a run. Davis fits into that category. Coco Crisp fits into that category.
Of course, Indians hoping to tack one on here in the 8th. As you look who's coming up in the 9th for the Blue Jays in a 1-run game. Encarnacion, Bautista, Tulowitzki. Two balls, 2 strikes to the Indians' leadoff hitter, who fouls it away over the dugout. And it stays 2-2. Indians open the scoring in the second. Solo home run by Carlos Santana. Toronto answered in the top of the third. Josh Donaldson, an RBI double, scoring Darwin Barney. And we've already told you about Davis and his stolen base. Advancing on a wild pitch and scoring on Lindor's single. Hit sharply to right, and Bautista on to make the play.
Oh, that was a great jump by Bautista to make that play.
Playing shallow to begin with, but you're right, this is a great read. He didn't hesitate, comes charging hard in, makes a nice running catch.
Yeah, looked it into the glove.
You can see how shallow he was right away. To take that hit away, takes a speedster off the bases.
And here's Jason Kipnis. Hitless in 3 trips. And make that 0 for 4. 2 up and 2 down here in the 8th.
Cleveland now in the postseason have not trailed, mostly because of this man, in the last 41 innings.
Talking to Mickey Callaway, the Indians pitching coach.
What could Mickey be offering him right now?
You don't talk to him at all. Whatever he's doing, just let him do it.
Lindor swings and misses.
Now, I think what some people forget about Andrew Miller is that he's had to face some humility in this game. A #1 pick, thought he was going to be the next great left-handed starter. It never worked for him, and he had to find his way in the bullpen. He was close to not making the team out of spring training with the Red Sox. Ended up pitching in 60+ games there, found his way, and since then has been on his way.
No balls, 2 strikes to Lindor.
Miller this postseason, 7 2/3 innings pitched with 17 Ks.
Do not adjust your sets. Actual numbers. The 1-2. Right back to the mound, and that's an easy inning for Osuna. We are through 8th. It's a 1-run game. Last rips for Toronto when we come back. Stay tuned after the game for the postseason show on TBS, presented by the Lincoln Motor Company. Casey Stern, Pedro Martinez, Gary Sheffield, Jimmy Rollins. Not seen here, but they will be on the postgame show. We're in the 9th inning. Cody Allen, Cleveland closer on. He's 3 for 3 in save opportunities in this postseason, including last night.
But he's got to go through Encarnacion, Bautista, and Tulowitzki. One swing of the bat. That's all Toronto needs.
Big breaking pitch over for a strike. Nibbled at the corner and missed. 2-1. Well, Andrew Miller did his Andrew Miller thing. 2 innings of relief, 5 strikeouts, no hits. The 2-1. Felt that up here.
Boy, big swing.
It looked like he was sitting on that breaking ball. It's a pretty good one to hit. He just swung right through it. $37,870. Begging for that one. Count full. Fastball, breaking ball here, Ronnie.
I got to go fastball one more time.
Fastball away.
Dotted away.
Fouled off down the right side and out of play.
Reason you try to stay on the outer part of the plate with Encarnacion and Bautista is, for the most part, if they're going to take you deep, it's from center field to the pole side.
Breaking pitch. Right 3 called. 1 down.
There's nothing you can do there, Cal. That buckled his world.
It looked like a little harder breaking ball. Up in the strike zone on the outside edge.
Little unintentional shimmy from Edwin Encarnacion. 1 down. Here's Bautista. Oh for 2 with a walk. 3 for 20 in the postseason. There it is again. 1-1. The K's piling up out of the Cleveland pen against Toronto.
Those pitches look close, but clearly sitting off the plate. He hits the glove, especially when you're looking from the angle over here in the side. It looks like a strike, but if you watch the catcher move, he moves off the plate.
Oh, dangerous pitch coming in on 2-1.
Oh, he had her rip. 2-2.
And he did not get it inside. Wow, what a swing.
Lucky to get that one back.
Pretty much right down the middle.
The Indians are an out away from a 2-0 lead in this best of 7.
Well, it's just one of those cases where Allen just reared back and threw it as hard as he could. Then it was up and out of the strike zone and by Bautista.
Yeah, the intention was to go on the outside corner. Gave him the pitch, set on the outside corner, reared back and threw a little harder, got some elevation, and got a lot of the plate, but threw it right by him.
7 of the last 8 Blue Jays have struck out. To center field, Rajay Davis. Game over. The Indians lead it 2-0. We saw the Cleveland Indians hold the high-powered Boston Red Sox to 7 runs in 3 games. They have held the Toronto Blue Jays to 1 run through 2 games.
And in 3 games in the ALDS against Texas, they had 22. The Cleveland Indians now in the postseason have beaten 2 20-game winners, Rick Porcello and Jay Happ.
Trying to figure out whether the pitching is that good or that break, you know, with a team that relies on the home run, or that break kind of slowed them down a little bit.
You know, Cal, in September and October of the regular season, the Blue Jays had such a tough time of it, scoring the least amount of runs in all of baseball as they struggled in September and October. Then they had that great run against Texas. Now they're back to where they were in September.
Carlos Santana, big home run in this game to get things started for the Indians. He's with Sam Ryan.
That's right, Ernie. Carlos with your first home run, first RBI of the postseason. 3 straight fastballs you saw there. What were you expecting?
I mean, I try thinking in the middle. I mean, he had very good command with middle away. So, I mean, I'm concentrate and try to hit the ball hard.
We saw earlier your teammate Mike Napoli was wearing the sunglasses batting, then he threw them away. What was it like batting in those conditions, hitting with the sun and the shadows?
I mean, he stopped the sea, especially the game start like 4 o'clock. So, I mean, when I see Napoli, so I want to use glasses too, but when I see he throw the glasses away, I mean, I don't use them, but I mean, I using the, I feel better for not using glasses, that's why.
So your manager, Terry Francona, said, you don't need to win 7 games, you need to win 4 games. You guys are halfway there now. What is the confidence like of this club?
We're confident. I mean, we have 2 very good teams, especially we hungry, they play every day. I mean, we have to keep it up. You know, I mean, this is second game in Toronto. We have very good team. They can come back, but with my teammates, so I feel everybody like hungry today. Win the game.
Congratulations, Carlos.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Indians haven't trailed in the last 42 innings in this postseason. Got the lead today 2-1 and would not surrender it. Back to wrap things up. 2-1 Indians over the Blue Jays. Right after this.